Five.
Business meeting of the Redmond City Council held on Tuesday, November 19th, 2024, commencing at 7 o'clock p.m. I will call roll, starting with Council President Kritzer.
Here.
Council Vice President Forsyth.
Here.
Councilmember Anderson.
Here.
Councilmember Nueva Camina.
Here.
Councilmember Salahuddin.
Here.
Councilmember Stewart.
Here.
Is there a motion to excuse Councilmember Fields?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
All those opposed? Great, and that passes 6-0. And I know that we are having some windy conditions, and just so everyone knows, if the power does go out, we will continue our meeting, which just might take us a moment. So here's hoping it all stays online. To start off, we have our first item on the agenda is a presentation from Deanna Dawson for the Association of Washington Cities Advanced Certificate of Municipal Leadership. Deanna, would you like to come up?
Thank you so much, Madam Mayor. It's great to be here with you all this evening. Members of the council, thank you for having me this evening. Next slide. I am Deanna Dawson. I'm the CEO at the Association of Washington Cities. I've been there for about 2.5 years. Many of you know me from my time prior to that when I was the executive director of the Sound Cities Association here in King County. And it's a great pleasure to be with you all tonight to give this presentation. And before I give this award, I'm also going to speak for just a few moments about the Association of Washington Cities and the work that we do. So next slide. So AWC is a voluntary membership organization, and we're comprised of all 281 cities and towns in the state of Washington. We're very proud that we celebrated 90 years of service last year. Next slide. And you can see up here on our screen, this is our mission statement. Our mission is to build connections between our state's diverse cities and towns while providing our members with the support needed to thrive through the delivery of data-driven education, nationally recognized pooling programs, and nonpartisan advocacy. Next slide. And this is just a little bit about what it is that we do at Association of Washington Cities. We do advocacy, so we have government relations advocates, lobbyists on our staff, and they work to build strong cities and a great state through our impactful nonpartisan advocacy. It's really important to note that nonpartisan aspect of our work. As you all know, city officials are nonpartisan in Washington state. They run with no party affiliation behind their name, and all of the work that we do, we try to keep that in mind. We also communicate, we tell city stories to make sure that people understand the really important issues that you work on here in the city. Things like the comprehensive plan that you're going to adopt tonight. What a hugely important thing. It's so impactful on your residents' lives, and so we help to tell those stories. We also we collect and share data to make sure that you all as city officials can make really well-informed decisions that are grounded in fact and that you really understand the issues facing cities all across Washington state. We also provide education, and that's the primary thing that I'm going to be discussing here with you tonight. We do professional development for city officials, and we do training to make sure that all of you are well educated and prepared to be effective leaders in your communities. We also provide services. Those include benefit programs. Most of the city employees, I should say, in Washington state are covered under our health insurance programs. We have other types of insurance programs and other types of services we provide to cities and towns in Washington. And then we also do work around engagement, and that's to build meaningful connections between the officials in our 281 cities and towns, as well as with the association. We do that to create a culture of knowledge, sharing, and innovation, and to build unity in support of our shared goals. And Melissa, it was great to see you at our meeting yesterday. We had about 25 elected officials from all around North King County come together to discuss common issues that we're facing all the cities here, and we do that all across the state to make sure that people can work together as cities because we have so much in common in our large and small cities, east and west, all across the state. Next slide. And so as I mentioned, we're going to talk tonight about the education that we do. We offer training and education in 5 basic core competencies that are up on your screen here. Next slide. And we do a lot of training. We had over 3,000 people attend our in-person trainings and events last year. We did webinars where over 633 city officials attended. We had many people attend our conference last June. We had 245 of our 281 cities represented at our cities and events last year. And through that work, we provide what's called a Certificate of Municipal Leadership. Next slide. And so this is a program that we do, the Certificate of Municipal Leadership, or the CML. It's to recognize mayors and council members who really go above and beyond and do the training, do the professional education to make sure that they are really effective leaders and that they really understand the laws in the state of Washington, and they understand the tools that they can have to be really great leaders in Washington state. And we have these 5 different competency areas that we offer the training in. Next slide. And so folks who get at least 30 Certificate of Municipal Leadership credits and do training in all of those different areas can get a Certificate of Municipal Leadership. And it's not everybody who does this. Not even half of the elected officials in Washington state have earned their Certificate of Municipal Leadership. So it's a big deal, and it really shows that you're going above and beyond as an elected official. Next slide. And I will say that Redmond has a very engaged and well-educated council. 3 of our council members here do already have their Certificate of Municipal Leadership, and others are very close to receiving theirs. We'll go to the next slide. And I would go so far as to say that you are one of the most engaged and best educated cities in the state. And I'm not just saying that because I'm here tonight. Really, truly, it is the case. Councilmembers Kritzer and Stewart are this close to getting their advanced Certificate of Municipal Leadership, and Councilmember Forsyth is also quite close on that. And then the other council members have all received some training and are on their way to get their CML. I encourage you all to do that. It's a nice way to show your constituents that you're going that extra mile, and it also really does help you to be a more effective leader, to get that training, and we think it's really important. Your council is also super engaged in the work that we do otherwise in Washington state. Councilmember Stewart, she serves on our Legislative Priorities Committee. They do really hard work to make sure that the interests of cities all across the state are being heard by the state legislature. Councilmember Forsyth serves on our Federal Legislative Priorities Committee, which is also super important work that we do. Councilmember Anderson serves on the Public Works Trust Board that we appoint to, as well as the E911 Advisory Committee, 2 super important committees in the state of Washington. And then Mayor Burney has served on our Bylaws Review Committee that has been meeting this year to make sure that our board really well reflects the state as a whole. And she also serves on our Large Cities Advisory Committee. Next slide. And so we also have a program to get your advanced Certificate of Municipal Leadership. And that is even harder to get. You have to have 60 credits and attend training in each of these competency areas. And you also have to demonstrate that you've performed significant service to your community. Only a very small percentage of elected officials across the state of Washington have achieved this distinction. And I'm very proud to be here tonight, next slide, to make this award to Mayor Burney. And we're just very proud to be here tonight to do this. She is one of the most engaged and she gives back a lot to not just this city, but to the region through her work on the Sound Cities Association and the various committees she serves on there, as well as all the work that she does at AWC and the National League of Cities. And so I'm very proud to be here tonight to give her this Certificate of Municipal Leadership. And I'm going to give it to her right now. Angela.
Thank you, Deanna.
And I have this pin for you as well. Next slide. So big kudos to Mayor Burney for achieving her advanced Certificate of Municipal Leadership. We're really proud of the work that she's done to achieve this. Next slide. I also wanted to make sure the council is aware of some of our upcoming events. We have a mayor's exchange. Mayor Bernie, I hope to see you on January 24th in Olympia for our next mayor's exchange, where we bring together mayors from all over the state who can learn from each other. We also have our City Action Days conference, which many of you have attended, I know, in the past. That's a great chance to come down to Olympia and to learn about how to be an effective advocate, and also then to go up on the Hill and talk to your legislators about the important work that the city of Redmond is doing. We also hold our annual conference in the Tri-Cities this year, Mayor Bernie's old stomping grounds where she was raised, in the Tri-Cities in June. Another item that I was talking about with Councilmember Kritzer earlier, we are doing a program called the Washington Collaborative Elected Leaders Institute that I hope that the city of Redmond will participate in next year. This is a way to come together and understand how to bring together people of diverse perspectives and diverse backgrounds and help them work through challenges, which I know all of us in our communities these days, we have people who are very polarized and who really aren't sure how to talk to each other sometimes. And so that's some new training that we're doing. It's been very effective in this first year of the program, and we hope that some of you will apply to serve in that second cohort. More information on that is coming soon. We also have some new trainings this year. We're going to do some exchanges for deputy mayors and council presidents. So hope to see you there to get together with your fellow council presidents and deputy mayors. And also we are doing some new exchanges for newly elected officials to bring together all the newly elected officials who came into office a year ago, bring them all together to learn from each other and talk about what they're struggling with and what they've found to be really important work that they're doing in their cities over the past year. Next slide. So I'm open for questions. If there's anything that AWC can be doing to help support Redmond, either now or in the future, please reach out to me. We are a very member-driven organization, and so if there is anything that we can be doing to support Redmond, just please do let me know. And if you have any questions for me tonight, I know you have a lot of important business to get to, though, so if you would like to save those questions, I think you all have my contact information, but it's on the next slide as well with my email address there. I'm happy to share my cell phone number, too, if anyone wants to give me a call at any time. So any questions for me about AWC and the work that we do?
Well, I want to say thank you, Deanna, CEO Dawson, for coming to Redmond this evening. Thank you so much for the certificate and taking the time. It really is a great organization. It really helps all of us be better at our jobs, as well as I do appreciate all of the opportunities for staff as well, and the information that you share every week with what's going on in the state and how it impacts our city. So thank you so much for being here tonight. And as you said, we have a lot to get to, and I know all the council appreciates everything that you do as well.
Thank you so much. And I will not be staying for your important business tonight because I'm going to get home before the power goes out on my 7-year-old child. So have a great meeting. Congratulations again on your budget and your comprehensive plan. Great work to all of you. And I'll look forward to working with you in the coming year. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. The next item on the agenda is a presentation from Dr. Eric Murray, president of Cascadia College. Dr. Murray.
Good evening. Thank you. Let me make sure we get the presentation up here first. I think they have to flip a switch in the back or Chip will come to the rescue. While you're doing that, Chip, Mayor Bernie, members of the council, thank you for having me. Eric Murray, president of Cascadia College. It's so nice to be in a room with a lot of familiar faces, and I appreciate the cookie buffet that you rolled out for my visit tonight. That's really special, and I feel good about that. So as we get rolling here, for those of you who I have not met before, a little bit about Cascadia College. I've been the president there for 14 years, and I'm pretty proud to say that for the first 5 of those 14 years, I was a Redmond resident and on Planning Commission. And so the comp plan approval today is something I know is dear to everyone, and it's so nice to come back to see how the city has grown and to see projects that I worked on in Planning Commission and see them finally come to fruition. So that's great. Cascadia College serves Our district is defined by the school districts that we serve. So we serve North Shore School District, Riverview School District, and Lake Washington School District. So I give this State of the College address to each of the 3 school boards, as well as to each of the cities that we serve in our district. So that's Kenmore, Bothell, Woodinville, Kirkland, Redmond, and Duval. So I am here to deliver the address to you all tonight. And so for the state of the college, it's good to note Cascadia is now 25 years old. We are in Bothell. We have been there 25 years, co-located with the University of Washington Bothell, and so we're happy to also have a celebratory year this year. And so I flipped to next on my computer. You have to do that for me? Okay, great, awesome. So tonight, I want to talk a little bit about the successes, challenges, and have some invitations for you next. So our enrollment, if you recall from the last couple of years, we had a really precipitous fall in enrollment, and the college was struggling a bit because of the pandemic, because of other kind of community factors. Well, I'm happy to say that over the last year and a half, our enrollment has continued to go up. In fact, this fall, we are 25% up over last fall. That's put our enrollment back to 2017 numbers, and we're really excited about that. And so there are a few reasons why we think our enrollment is up. Next slide. First, I want to talk a little bit about access. The city of Kenmore gave us a $100,000 grant over this last year to help tutor high school students who had gaps in math and English because of the pandemic. Students in high schools didn't have the same learning opportunities, and so we've been tutoring after-school students from the Kenmore High School, Inglemoor High School, and those students likewise have matriculated onto Cascadia after they've graduated. The second great point of access, which I know is important to all of you, is that we now have a classroom, a center here in Redmond, our Redmond campus. And it started off slow, but this year we are full to capacity. We are teaching classes Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. In the evening, it's our English as a second language program. During the day, it's general ed courses, particularly designed for Running Start students. We have grown so much this year that, in fact, we're thinking about starting to offer Saturday and Sunday classes in Redmond as well. So that's been a great contribution to this part of our service district and also helped our enrollment. And then you might remember we started during the pandemic hosting students of color on our campus for a social justice day and to learn more about higher education. Now over 800 students of color come to our campus every spring from 5 different school districts to learn more about higher education and issues facing our students these days. And so all of these things have helped contribute to access and our enrollment increase. Next slide. We've also been increasing our retention efforts. We have a mentoring program for students who come from historically marginalized backgrounds. That's just grown. We started with 14 students. We're now up to over 100 students that we mentor. They tend to stay with us longer than those students who don't get mentoring. We also engage in intrusive advising, which means we don't offer the opportunity for advising. We require that you get advised before you sign up for your classes every quarter so that students have to check in with a staff member and know that they're on the right track. And we also embed tutors in math and English to make sure that these are tutors who have taken the class before and come back to take the class again side by side with those new learners, and then they tutor them after the class is over. And all of these things have helped our retention efforts grow. Last year, the national average for retention in community colleges is about 48%. Last year, Cascadia had a 90% retention rate of our students, and so we're pretty proud to be at the top of that national average. Next, please. There is this thought about a post-pandemic rebound. Now that people are back on their feet, things are more stable, the economy is starting to turn around. Other colleges have seen increases in enrollment, not quite so great as Cascadia's, but we believe that because we continue to be the best deal around, whether you're getting free education as a Running Start student or you're paying the lower community college tuition, that people are looking for the best benefit for their dollar, and our college seems to offer that. And then for Running Start, we now serve over 1,000 Running Start students. Those are high school students taking dual credit. We've never had this many Running Start students, and they come from 45 different high schools around the state and Western Washington. And we just have a reputation for offering quality classes for students who are still in high school. We do have some challenges. Next slide, please. Oh, actually, we're going to stick with some other random successes. Several of you, I think, came to our grand opening of our $80 million science building last November that we built with the University of Washington. We are also about ready to break ground on our new Student Services Center called Gateway Hall. I'm going to circle back to that in a minute. We launched our foundation 3 years ago. They're now bringing in over $500,000 a year just in student scholarship support, and we've had a really successful run at fundraising. We have a community advisory committee that the mayor has come to and others, in which we just have a forum for talking about community issues that are affecting all of our agencies and businesses. Continued great relationship with UW Bothell, and we also offer a Foundations of Equity and Inclusion course for employees. We did that for our own employees, and it's become so popular that other agencies are starting to tap in and pay for their employees to come take our program in equity and inclusion. So I offer that back if the city needs any kind of foundational educational support in equity and inclusion. We have a program for that. Now we'll get into some challenges. Previously, enrollment, having enough students was our challenge. Now we don't have enough instructors. We literally ran out of instructors and could not open any more sections because finding a part-time instructor with 3 days' notice is really tough. So I invite you, if you have a master's degree in English or any other discipline and you want to teach a class, please look on our website. We're looking for part-time instructors all the time, and we can even put you right here in the Redmond Center. So we would love for people to apply for that. We're also trying to continue to find the right class offerings in Redmond and to expand that program. That's a good challenge to have. And I don't know if it's the same within your staffing at the city, but we continue to have turnover in staff. We currently have about 15 to 20 vacancies on our staff. That's down from 45, and we continue to chip away at making sure we have the staff to serve our students. Facility growth issues are still there, the supply chain. Here's where I wanted to talk about our Student Services Center again, Gateway Hall. The community college system sends a list to the legislature, and through bonds, we are funded for capital buildings. And it's separate from what the school districts get or what the cities get. And right now, we are number 7 on this year's biennial list of capital projects. And the capital budget may get to Project 6, may get to Project 7, may get to Project 8. We're going to know in a few months whether or not Cascadia is making the cut. If not, I would hope that I could come back to the council for a letter of support saying we believe in our community college, growth in the east side is tremendous, and we need to have this center. It wouldn't affect your budgets in any way, but it would certainly help us if we had letters of support to our legislators. And if we get that support in the biennium, July 1, we break ground. It's all designed, it's all ready to go. If not, we have to shelf the building for 2 years until the next biennial project, but we'll probably be number 1 on the list in 27 if that happens. And then parking, we have plenty of parking. If you need to rent a parking garage, please let us know. We've gone to so many online classes that are in demand that we have too many parking spaces, and I pre-pandemic just built a $30 million parking garage that I have to pay for. So if you want to come park with us, be happy to entertain you to come to have a council meeting in Bothell or rent a facility from us. I need people to park in my parking lot so I can pay my bills. Let's keep going. So some invitations. On February 26th, you'll get a separate invitation just to every council member and to the city staff. We come and invite you to celebrate 20. So thank you. And if you have questions, great. If not, I invite you to enjoy my cookies.
All right. Well, thank you, Dr. Murray. Are there any questions to this evening, Council President?
Thank you so much for the update and for all the work that you're doing to be able to train our next generation of leaders and people throughout our community. So such a powerful work that you do and really wonderful to hear about the state of the college. We'll note on the legislative ask that we actually have on our agenda tonight approving our state legislative agenda, but certainly, I don't know if fellow council members, but would be open if you wanted to send us some information for us to bring that up for discussion amongst the council.
It'd be just a letter of community support, so nothing that would affect your budget or anything, nothing that you would have to lobby for, but I intend to create a portfolio of letters of support that's saying, yeah, you really need to have this building here on the east side. So
Yeah, I think personally for me, where we can partner to be able to support resources in our, in our community for our residents, that makes a lot of sense for us to do that and to be able to show from the cities that we support our educational institutions. So appreciate you raising that with us. And also just wanted to say I'm really excited to hear about the center at the Together Center and that programming has been so effective. Can you remind us the courses that are offered there?
Oh, I don't know them off the top of my head. I think we have a speech class there. We have a college success, which is an intro to college class there. We're teaching nutrition there. We've got math there. We have English there. I think there are about 9 to 12 total courses, regular general ed courses being taught. And then we are teaching ESL levels 1, 2, and 3, and about ready to start levels 4, 5, and 6 for those students who are progressing. And a lot of those students come from the Together Center and the affordable housing above the Together Center directly downstairs to our program. So we'll continue to figure out other classes to offer there and hopefully expand that programming. Yeah, I was just over there before we sent everybody home because of the wind. And there's a class, with 30 people in it, and they're all engaged and excited. And I just sat there and watched for a while, and I couldn't have been more proud. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Nueva Camina.
Thank you, Mayor. Dr. Murray, thank you for coming and giving that. Being a downtown Redmond resident, I get to hear a lot of things when I'm going for walks, when I'm, whether I'm grabbing a bite to eat at the shopping, whatever. I also get to hear through my high schooler, who is a Running Start student, kind of the feedback as to what's going on. And I get to hear that as a parent, but of course I've always got my council member ears on as well. And just building community with you and the things that I get to hear about it. One of the things that I think gets perhaps overlooked is not only like what we're doing and having the resource being there, but then also building community with the students throughout different districts. He's good friends now with somebody who's at Duval. He's got another friend who is from North Shore, and that's possible from this. So as he was then working on some of his, he had other people to turn to, which was just great to have that resource. So it goes beyond just what is being taught in the classroom and continuing to build community. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And one of the things we learned is that we're not only serving the community of Redmond, Redmond's acting as an overflow site because we were down to like 27 individual seats out of 10,000 on the Bothell campus, but there were still some class spaces available here in Redmond. So there are people coming from as far away as Monroe. In fact, the class I was visiting today, they sent them home early all the way out to Monroe because this is where they wanted to come for their classes. So I can see how that networking is happening. And thank you for having that parent hat on. So.
Thank you. Any other questions? Well, thank you again for joining us this evening. It's always great to get the update, and look forward to hearing more about what's going on at Cascade.
Congratulations on all your good news tonight. Thanks.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is items from the audience. I have the sign-in sheet for members of the public to speak tonight. When I read your name, you'll come up to the podium and have 3 minutes to address the council. Council members generally will not respond to comments or questions directly at the meeting. Members of the public are welcome to email the council anytime at mayorcouncil@redmond.gov. The views stated by members of the public do not represent the opinion of the City of Redmond. And as a reminder, RCW 4217A 555 prohibits any public comment during the council meeting in support or opposition of ballot propositions, measures, or candidates. All comments must pertain to the City of Redmond business as indicated on the sign-in sheet. And there are 4 people signed up to speak tonight. We do have 1 person who signed up to speak remotely as well. So I'll read your names and just come right up when it's your turn. We'll start with David Morton, then after him is Logan Bowers, then Tom McGovern, then Devin Kellogg.
Good evening, council members and mayor. I'm David Morton. I wish to speak about Redmond 2050, Redmond's comprehensive plan update. This evening marks a pivotal moment for Redmond's future. The scope of changes before you, from updating your comprehensive plan to revising crucial infrastructure plans and municipal codes, represents more than routine policy updates. It embodies Redmond's vision for the next quarter century. I'm particularly encouraged by the holistic approach taken in this update. The coordination between land use planning, transportation, utilities, and housing demonstrates the kind of integrated thinking we need. The updates to the water system plan and general wastewater plan ensure that infrastructure can support sustainable growth. The amendments to the transportation master plan show foresight in addressing mobility challenges. The new climate resilience and sustainability element looks good. The 2024 Overlake Neighborhood Plan Addendum deserves special mention. As one of your major growth centers, Overlake's development will significantly impact Redmond's character and vitality. The attention given to this area reflects its importance in Redmond's future. I want to commend the inclusion of affordable housing considerations, particularly the establishment of a payment in lieu schedule for the neighborhood residential zone. 2027. This demonstrates a practical commitment to addressing Redmond's housing affordability challenges while providing flexibility in implementation. The Capital Facilities Plan for 2025 to 2030 shows careful consideration of your infrastructure needs. This planning is crucial as you manage growth while maintaining Redmond's high quality of life. The extensive amendments to the zoning code and amendments to Titles 3, 10, and 13 of the Municipal Code indicate thorough attention to implementation details. These changes will translate your vision into actionable regulations that shape development on the ground. However, as you adopt these comprehensive changes, I encourage the Council to remain vigilant about monitoring the implementation and impacts of these changes. The success of Redmond 2050 will depend on Redmond's ability to adapt these plans as the city evolves. Looking ahead, these documents will guide Redmond through significant changes in our region. They will help balance growth with environmental stewardship, economic vitality with community character, and development with livability. Thank you for your thorough work on this update, and I support the adoption of Redmond 2050 and its accompanying ordinances and resolutions.
Thank you, and thank you so much for your participation.
Is this a real problem, or is this just something that's not that common? And the answer is overwhelmingly that pedestrian and structure safety from vehicles is a general problem. More often than not, it's an out-of-control driver rather than a malicious one, but both occur regularly and people are injured or sometimes die. Simple YouTube search, you will find more footage of crashes here locally in the region than you'll ever want to see. In fact, an internal city department email confirms this, as one city supervisor said earlier in the year, and I quote, "I don't think that we should allow this business to get protection from vehicles because other businesses will want to request this protection also," end quote. Folks on staff know this is a safety risk. They know others will want to mitigate this safety risk too. You have a general policy question in front of you, which is, should the city explicitly plan to protect pedestrians writ large or not? I hope you decide yes. Second concern I've heard raised is, well, the city already has a plan, so is this really needed? Again, going back to a February statement from the city, the position was that there, in one case, was a request for protective bollards was denied because there are no city codes that allow them, end quote. I'm deeply appreciative that the city has reevaluated their stance since then, but I think the fact that there was confusion internally over just the last year indicates a lack of documentation and process that everyone could benefit from. A quick example is you can't put protective infrastructure everywhere. Under what circumstances and under what risks should protective pedestrian infrastructure be put in place? Not a single city published planning document contemplates that. And okay, so you're going to put in some protective barriers. What should they look like? Should they be a bench, a tree, a planter box, an oft-feared bollard? What's the city's preferred design? You have many, many pages on where and how to install a bike rack, but the planning documents are silent on protective infrastructure. That's what this resolution before you addresses, a general plan so there's no confusion. Lastly, I do want to ask that you accept most, but reject some of the changes you saw in the red line today that changed the resolution to a feasibility study. People are injured and killed daily by vehicles, both malicious and accidental. You'll find barely a few paragraphs across all your planning documents that contemplate when and how pedestrians should be protected. Vision Zero is hard and takes a lot of work. Safety standards and designs should be baked in to your guidelines and permitting documents.
So your time was up. Thank you. Next is Tom McGovern, then Devin Kellogg. All right, thank you. Devin Kellogg.
Greetings, Mayor and Council members. My name is Devin Kellogg. I'm a parent, teacher, and stable climate advocate here in support of the Visionary 2050 Comprehensive Plan. I'm grateful to live in a city which values environmental stewardship, being welcoming, inclusive, and affordable to residents, designing walkable neighborhoods, and promoting a vibrant economy. I'm especially thankful for the efforts of the amazing planning staff and the planning commissioners and all who were involved, who included forward-thinking policies in the new climate element and throughout the 2050 plan. The physics of heat trapping pollution doesn't care what our views and intentions are. We will either improve health, safety, and societal costs, or we won't. And we will all pay the price of inaction. Tonight's expected storm is a case in point. The longer we delay, the more we can expect more flooding, felled trees, lost work hours, along with the growing number of record billion-dollar disasters across the U.S., which are threatening the health and safety and jacking up prices for basic resources, infrastructure, insurance rates everywhere. On the other hand, I envision my family weathering future, hopefully less intense storms, with our all-electric appliances backed up with our Ford F-150 vehicle to home battery, which will be charged by 100% clean grid, supported by a network of EV batteries and community solar on the rooftops of our local schools, libraries, and city buildings and more. When the weather clears, we can take a local trail or transit safely to a nearby park for an afternoon basking in the beautiful natural surroundings, stopping for refreshment at a local cafe or in some groceries at the corner market on the way home. Ongoing clean and efficient energy projects will help our residents live in healthier spaces, save money, and will bolster our local economy and maybe be trained by Cascadia. More folks will have options for travel, and our air and hopefully ample water supply will be fresh and free of pollution. We will meet crucial sustainability goals, pioneer new technologies, and set the trend for other cities to follow. This plan helps make all this better future possible. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And thank you also for participating in our comp plan this year as well. And next we have, that is all for in person. Next we have Rachel Major. Is it not working? Can you hear me? How's this? Is that better? Okay, someone turned it way down. Okay. Thank you, Ms. Kellogg, for participating. And also, that's the end of our in-person comments from items from the audience. Next, we'll go to Rachel Major, who is online.
This is Rachel.
Hi, this is the Mayor of Redmond. You have 3 minutes to address the council.
Thank you so much. Council members and Mayor Bernie, thank you for the opportunity to comment this evening. I'm Rachel Mazur. I'm a land use attorney at Hillis, Clark, Martin, and Peterson in Seattle. I represent Columbia Pacific Advisors, who owns the property located at 6900 188th Avenue Northeast. This property is split zone with the partial business park BP designation on the eastern portion of the site. The property is adjacent to a parcel owned by the Lake Washington School District, an in-process multifamily residential development, and a park. This neighborhood proximity makes the property primed for a future residential development. As you may know, draft code updates currently before the Planning Commission will remove all residential uses from the BP zones, even though mixed-use residential is currently allowed. We've asked the Planning Commission to make a small revision to allow multifamily residential use in BP zones on split zone properties immediately adjacent to and on property owned by the school district. Commissioners will discuss our minor code requests at tomorrow's commission meeting. However, staff has indicated that our proposed revision would conflict with the draft comprehensive plan policies for the BP zones. Importantly, these policies, and notably LU 39, found on page 15 of the land use element final draft, do not prohibit multifamily residential use in the BP zone. The proposed language is instead silent as to residential uses. We therefore ask the council to deliberate and make a policy statement to clarify that the comprehensive plan does not preclude residential uses in the BP zone. We don't think it's a logical outcome consistent with broader housing goals to limit the availability of housing as a permitted use on sites adjacent to school property, parks, and other residential uses. Also, by making this policy statement, you will help guide the Planning Commission as they review the code update, which will implement the comprehensive plan. This policy statement will also yield an efficient outcome by removing the need for our client to pursue a rezone and a comprehensive plan amendment. Thank you for your consideration of these comments, and thank you for your hard work on the comprehensive plan.
Thank you. That's really loud now. And that items from the audience is now closed. Our next item of business is a consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any items to be pulled? Council President.
I'd like to pull number 7 and number 8.
Thank you. Are there any other items to be pulled? Councilmember Anderson?
I'd like to pull number 2, please. Payroll.
So that, let me keep track here. Consent item 4, 5, and 6 have not been pulled, so I need to read them into the record. Consent item number 4, resolution number 1596, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Redmond, Washington, adding new user fees and costs to the City Public Works Department schedule of fees charged and penalties associated with Planning Department bicycle and scooter sharing authorized under Chapter 12.08 of the Redmond Municipal Code, amending the user fee schedule for Public Works effective January 1st, 2025. Consent item number 5, ordinance number 3179, ordinance of the City of Redmond adopting a new Chapter 3.88 of the Redmond Municipal Code to recover certain costs of providing basic life support, emergency medical services transport, providing for severability, and establishing an effective date. Consent item number 6, ordinance number 3180, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Redmond, Washington, amending ordinance numbers 3110, 3129, 3130, 31535, and 3164 by making adjustments to the city's 2023-2024 biennial budget in Exhibit 1. This is a voice vote. Since all are here, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
And that passes, I'm sorry about that, that was consent. So I will do a roll call instead since there was a nay. Starting with Council President.
Aye.
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 Aye. No.
And that passes 5-1. The next item, I'm going to take these in a little different order. I'm going to take item number 2 first before 7 and 8, if that's all right with council. Item number 2, would anyone like to move item number 2?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Anderson.
As you saw, I voted against the consent agenda, and I would like to approve payroll.
Oh, okay, thank you. Any other comments on this item? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote, starting with Council President Kritzer.
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
And that passes 6-0. Next, we have item number 7. Give me a moment. Item number 7. There are many ordinances I do need to read in the record for this one, so y'all can take a walk while I go through this. So the first is consent number 7, AM number 24-174, Redmond 2050 adoption. Ordinance number 3181, an ordinance of the City of Redmond, Washington, repealing the Redmond Comprehensive Plan and replacing it with an updated plan as part of a periodic update, providing for severability and establishing an effective date. Ordinance number 3182, an ordinance of the City of Redmond, Washington, adopting the 2024 Overlake Neighborhood Plan Addendum, providing for severability and establishing an effective date. Ordinance number 3183, an ordinance of the City of Redmond, Washington, repealing the Redmond Water System Plan and replacing it with an updated plan as part of a comprehensive plan periodic update, providing for severability and establishing an effective date. Ordinance number 3184, an ordinance of the City of Redmond, Washington, repealing the Redmond General Wastewater Plan and replacing it with an updated plan as part of a comprehensive plan periodic update, providing for severability and establishing an effective date. Ordinance number 3185, an ordinance of the City of Redmond, Washington, amending the 2013 Transportation Master Plan as part of a comprehensive plan periodic update, providing for severability and establishing an effective date. Ordinance number 3186, an ordinance of the City of Redmond, Washington, amending Title 21 of the Redmond Municipal Code, known as the Redmond Zoning Code, to implement Redmond 2050, the periodic update of the Redmond Comprehensive Plan, providing for severability and establishing establishing an effective date. Ordinance number 3187, an ordinance of the City of Redmond, Washington, amending Title III of the Redmond Municipal Code to implement Redmond 2050, the periodic update of the Redmond Comprehensive Plan, providing for severability and establishing an effective date. Ordinance number 3188, an ordinance of the City of Redmond, Washington, amending Title 10 of the Redmond Municipal Code to implement Redmond 2050, the periodic update of the Redmond Comprehensive Plan, providing for severability and establishing an effective date. Ordinance number 3189, an ordinance of the City of Redmond, Washington, amending Title 13 of the Redmond Municipal Code to implement Redmond 2050, the periodic update of the Redmond Comprehensive Plan, providing for severability and establishing an effective date. Resolution number 1597, a resolution of the City of Redmond, Washington, establishing an affordable housing payment in lieu schedule for the neighborhood residential zone pursuant to Chapter 2120 of the Redmond Municipal Code and establishing an effective date. And ordinance number 3190, ordinance of the City of Redmond, Washington, adopting the Redmond Capital Facilities Plan 2025 through 2030 as part of a comprehensive plan periodic update, providing for severability and establishing an effective date. Is there a motion to approve item number 7?
So moved.
Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded. Are there any comments? We'll start, usually I start with the person who moves it. So, Council President, would you like to make some comments or questions?
Thank you. And I will just note that I pulled this item in order to allow us to make comments on this very momentous occasion. I am so thrilled to be planning to vote yes on this comprehensive plan tonight, and to be able to enact this exciting plan that has literally had years upon years of work by our amazing staff in the city, our amazing community, both our commissioners as well as those who've served on the Redmond 2050 committee, and everyone who's filled out a survey or put a sticky note on a board that's been at one of our many city events where, again, our city staff have been out there throughout different seasons gathering feedback and putting the input into really guiding our city towards the future. We are in a critical moment in Redmond where we're growing, we're changing, and we can decide as a community what kind of place we want to be in the future. And this comprehensive plan, I think, reflects the values of the place that I love to live in and the place that I want to live in. So just want to express my deep gratitude to everyone who's worked on this plan, and really gratitude to all of the council. It's been very cool being, actually started talking about this, I think, when I was on the Planning Commission, and then on my time on council, to go from right direction, wrong direction, general ideas to the specifics of these chapters. And just want to thank my colleagues for all the work and everyone in this room. So excited to vote for this and to move into the implementation of this vision together.
Thank you. Councilmember Stewart.
Well, thank you so much. And we have a pretty full chambers tonight, given the weather especially, and I know some folks can't join us. I just want to say, way to go, Team Redmond. We have geeked out for the last several years about the contents of this plan. Like the council president, I wanted to reflect just a little bit on the process, on the how. I think process mattered a lot in this process, and I'm so grateful. So we've been working on this plan, whether you've been an elected, a commissioner, a volunteer on an advisory committee, or simply stumbled upon a way to participate in building this plan. I think it's safe to say that definitely hundreds and probably thousands of Redmond residents have contributed to the development of this plan. And I wanted to remind us a little bit about that. 2.5 years ago, residents were invited, I think, into this room where they wrestled with the future of our new urban centers or our newly focused on urban centers, and they got to play with Legos. And at the end of that process, they decided that being able to walk to work and the grocery store and home would be really, really important in the future of these communities. At a cultural event where staff had a dot voting system displayed, residents voted time and time again for something something to do after 8 p.m. And as one senior resident said to me that day, I just want to go out dancing. So activating our lively urban centers is absolutely something that is included in this plan. And 3 years ago, residents who stopped by our booth at Derby Days, they had pennies and they were asked to put the pennies in the jar that most represented their top priority as we moved through this process. Again, this was 3 Derby Days ago. And no surprise, of course, affordable housing and housing choice were the top concerns of our residents. And this plan absolutely addresses that and sharpens our tools to address one of the biggest priorities of our residents. And lastly, at the recent council conversation in Downtown Park, a resident asked me what it would take to get a coffee shop or a neighborhood store in her residential neighborhood. And I turned to her and I delivered the good news that many of these folks over here are very responsible for. I said, your Redmond Planning Commission represented you well. And they built a plan that is integrated into the comprehensive plan tonight to complete your neighborhood. And it was such a thrill to be able to just report back on the great work of the listening that has happened over the last few years. So with this vote tonight, we're gonna adopt a comprehensive plan that protects our wild and open spaces, welcomes new residents to our thoughtfully built centers, and connects it all with safe and active transportation corridors. And we'll need everyone's help to implement it. So I hope we all find a way to continue to stay engaged. And finally, all of this was tied together by our incredible staff. There are a few people I think that deserve a special call out tonight. So I want to acknowledge Carol and Seraphy and Jason and Jeff and Becky and Ian and Lauren and Glenn, Kim, Audra, and Jody, of course, who holds it all together up there. So thank you all so, so much, and congratulations, Team Redmond.
Other comments this evening? Councilmember Salahuddin?
Thank you so much. I think I have worked on the comprehensive plan the least, but I think the process has been so incredible. And Councilmember Stewart mentioned playing with Lego bricks a few years back. That was actually the first time that I got to, get involved with the comprehensive plan process. And throughout the entirety of it, just very, very grateful for the staff that we have. Councilmember Stewart did a great job at recognizing so many incredible leaders, as well as all of the commissioners, all of the fellow council member and mayor, but all of the community members who have leaned into this process. I think it's just a testament to what's reflected in this comprehensive plan, the opportunities for us to grow 25 years into the future and what that looks like. What's really significant about this for me is that it's tailored towards our next generation. There are so many young leaders who are going to grow up in a Redmond, just as I've done throughout my entire life. That is reflective of their values and their lives, and something that 25 years from now, hopefully they will continue to be able to live in Redmond because of what we've done in the comprehensive plan. So I'm really excited about voting in support of this, and thank you again.
I'm going to go to Councilmember Nueva Camina, and then Council Vice President Forsyth, and then Councilmember Anderson.
Thank you, Mayor. I would be absolutely remiss not to acknowledge my time on the commission and what an absolute honor it was to be at the table with you, to follow leadership, to watch how this particular team works together, both as a staff, as a commission. It was my first view into council, and that will always, always have a very special place in my heart. With the amount of involvement, let me backtrack. Taking a look over recent events on a national level, there's a lot of things that are completely out of our control. And now for those who are listening, I'd like to invite you to the table to really get involved, because while there is a lot of things that is completely out of our control at the national level, there is so much that is wildly within reach just by engaging civically right here in Redmond. So when you feel like, it's a bit wild, this is an opportunity where residents and leaders alike had an opportunity to mold and craft and sit at the table and deliberate on things that were sometimes contentious, and to be able to do it in a very respectful way, being able to hear different opinions. So whenever you're feeling a bit out of control, just tap in, because there's some really great things happening inside of our community. Thank you all.
Thank you. Council Vice President.
Thank you. A lot has been said, so I don't want to repeat folks, but This has been a huge, huge lift, and this has been going on, as Council Vice President or Council President said, for many, many years. This has been going on the entire time that I have been a council member, and it started well before that. And I see many past commissioners in the audience and current commissioners, and I just want to take a moment to say how big of a lift this has been for how many years, and to be at this point where we're finally adopting this tonight. It feels kind of surreal. I don't know if that feels that way for you all as well. But I look forward to adopting this. I look forward to the implementation. And I look forward to future generations that look back at the work that we've done here over the past several years and that you all have participated in. And I look forward to hearing that, that we did a great job and we considered so many things. And just what that future holds in 25 years when this process starts again. It'll be fascinating to see how our city has grown and changed and shifted through all of the work that so many of you put into this. So a huge thank you to the community members, huge, huge, huge thank you to all of the staff, and thank you to my fellow council members as well.
Thank you. Councilmember Anderson.
Thank you. These are just some quick notes I jotted down here, but I wanted to say thank you, of course, and recognize the excellent work of the planning staff under Director Helen's leadership and the vision of council and the mayor in collaborating on this plan. I think it's been awesome to see that, as well as the Planning Commission, if I didn't mention that already. And then specifically, spend some time thanking the team for some things I think are real highlights of the comprehensive plan and the specific individuals who were involved in that, and that is Jeff Churchill and Ian Lefcourt. I was really impressed with the work on defining what equity means in the city and thinking about, for the first time, how that really integrates in our comprehensive plan. I think that's a huge, huge milestone for the city, so congratulations on the plan. The other thing I loved seeing was that we are going toward a more or a less car-centered focus within the city. And that's a real game changer when it comes to environmental commitments that we've already made in our environmental sustainability action plan. So I just wanted to say congratulations on that. I love seeing that. And then also, in general, I'm looking forward to the next plan, and for this reason, because one of the challenges we have for next time is to start thinking about how we think about intergenerational equity within the city. As we are a growing city, moving from sort of the small town to a more urbanized community, that'll be a big challenge for us to understand how, as we grow and change, our community members can be more engaged and also live, work, and play successfully within our community as we continue to fight the systemic issues of racism and change the frame of how we think about our infrastructure and buildings. I also wanted to acknowledge that this is really a important comprehensive plan, primarily because this is the most diverse team building this plan for the first time. So congratulations. I really appreciated the opportunity, and it's been fun to be a part of the process for the last 8 years, so thank you. Excuse me, 7 years.
Thank you. And normally, I might hold my comments till after the vote, but I'm going to join in on the, hopefully. I think we might have lost the beat, but anyway. I also, everything that the council has said, I am just so extremely proud of our community. We took this idea of needing to do a comprehensive plan, thousands of staff hours, amazing direction from our director, Carol Helland, staff stepping up and thinking differently about what our city could be, a planning commission that was really willing to stretch how much of a leader Redmond could be throughout the region, and really took the opportunity to see a Redmond that is more inclusive, is not car-centric, grows from a suburb to a city, and does it in such a way that honors the land where we are, as well as the opportunities that our future holds. So, so much gratitude for all of you here and all of the work you've done. We had also an amazing outreach. I have been sharing far and wide in all of the events, all of the things I travel to, about what an incredible job our staff and our community did in engaging on this. We had over 100 events. We had over 200 board commissioner committee meetings. We had over 20 focus groups, and we had several thousand comments on our comprehensive plan. And I just feel so honored to be leading this city in such a way that allows so much of our community to have a say in what the growth of our city looks like. And I think that we truly embrace the ideas of what a comprehensive plan can be. And I will continue to share far and wide with how fantastic of a job our city has done. And I look forward to seeing how we grow into this comprehensive plan. And I do want to thank the council as well for their true engagement on all of this and really being connected on where this vision can go for the city. So thanks to everybody. And with that, let us take a vote on this. This is going to be a roll call vote, and I will start with Council President Kritzer.
Aye.
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 And that passes 6-0. Thank you all very much. We have one more substantial item before we are going to take a recess and enjoy some treats, and everyone can have a chance to talk and for about 30 minutes before we get back to business. So the next item of business is number 8, adoption of the 2025-2026 final budget. I also have to read a bunch of ordinance into the record as well. So here we go. We'll see if the mic keeps up. Ordinance number 3191, an ordinance of the City of Redmond, Washington, levying property taxes for the City of Redmond for the fiscal year commencing January 1st, 2025, on all property, both real and personal, in said city, which is subject to taxation for the purpose of paying sufficient revenue to carry on general operations, recognize voter-approved levy lid lifts for public safety and parks for the ensuing years as required by law. Ordinance number 3192, an ordinance of the City of Redmond, Washington, amending sections 504070 and 504080 of the Redmond Municipal Code, increasing the business license fee as required by RCW 3590, municipal business licensing, and establishing an effective date. Ordinance number 3193, an ordinance of the City of Redmond, Washington, amending RMC 1308030, 1316020, 1316030, and 1316040, increasing water meter installation, water, hydrant, and sewer rates and charges, and providing for severability and establishing an effective dates. Ordinance number 3194, an ordinance of the City of Redmond, Washington, amending subsection 1318050B of the Redmond Municipal Code in order to increase the base rate amount for monthly stormwater utility service from $15.89 per impervious unit to $15.97 per impervious unit in 2025 and $17.06 per impervious unit in 2026. Ordinance number 3195, an ordinance of the City of Redmond, Washington, amending Redmond Municipal Code Chapter 544 in order to add provisions regarding taxation of water, sewer, and stormwater utility service, providing for severability and establishing an effective date. Resolution number 1598, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Redmond, Washington, to adopt the implementation of project review provisions to provide prompt, coordinated review and ensure accountability to applicants and the public in conformance with state legislative updates regarding permit process streamlining, and ordinance number 3196, an ordinance of the City of Redmond, Washington, adopting the final 2025-2026 biennial budget of the city commencing January 1st, 2025. Is there a motion to approve AM number 24-175?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any comments on this item? Let us start with Council Vice President Forsythe.
Thank you. Again, this is an item that is a very big lift, and just major kudos to Director Cochran and her team for making this such a smooth process for us. And for our own knowledge and acknowledgement, our council retreat really fed into the items that really made this a very collaborative process between the legislative branch and the administrative branch of our government. This just really shows what we can do when we put our minds to it and we collaborate and we have a really transparent and clear process. And I'm really, really proud of this budget and how smoothly it went, how quickly we got through it. I think this is the earliest we've ever passed a budget since I have been on council, and it's been the best process that I've been able to participate in. So I just want to say thank you to everyone that gave feedback, everyone that gave public comment. everyone that participated in any surveys, and all of the staff. Thank you all so much for making this just a really great process.
All right, thank you. Council President.
Well, I will echo the thanks to everyone who worked on this budget, our community for the input, our staff for their incredibly thoughtful and hard work, especially to our Finance Director, Kelly Cochran, and our finance team, especially Deputy Director Haritha Nara as well, but the whole finance team, just incredible, and all the departments that worked on this. As Council Vice President Forsyth referenced, at the beginning of this year, the council had a retreat, and we made a list of some priorities that we wanted to see funded in this budget. And I thought I'd just call out a couple of those, and where we see it in here. You see basically the entire list in here in a big way. It's exciting. Top priority was funding public safety and really scaling up alternative crisis response. One of the things I'm really excited about in this budget is we found a way to add resources for Fire Station 17 and add an engine company there, really to expand our coverage in terms of fire, as well as scaling up and increasing the amount of alternative crisis responders in our city. And there's just a great investment in figuring out how to cover that public safety gap for our city. So really appreciate all the work the council did, the staff did, and the brainstorming together to be able to figure that out. We also wanted to invest more deeply into our respect, equity, diversity, and inclusion work. And in this budget, we have now 2 full-time positions that we'll budget for and other resources to support that work, and I look forward to continuing that in the time ahead. We wanted to make sure that we could capitalize on the great work, but continue the momentum on environmental sustainability, which, you know, we see is a deep piece of our comp plan, but we won't get there unless we actually go towards it. It's a deep piece of our environmental sustainability action plan. And in this budget, we've added about over $1.5 million in enhancements in environmental sustainability to support that, to really support that work. And I'm excited about where we're going to go in the time ahead, matching our words with dollars and actions. We wanted to be able to support more first, last mile solutions and support our commitments to Vision Zero. And we have funding in here to make it safer to bike and walk in Redmond, as well as to provide more options to connect people into our growing number of light rail stations. We also wanted to be able to support our community in housing and mental health and ramp up on human services. And thanks to our Human Services Commission, we actually are able to, we were able to do the work to be able to change the per capita formula, increase investments in that, and then on top of that, our council is adding additional increases in investments to be able to support our community in moments of need. We also wanted to be able to support our businesses, and we have a huge amount of economic development in this budget, as well as some exciting support for our community-based organizations and things that can help. I'm particularly excited about establishing a pilot community-based events innovation fund that's going to help us to start up some new events and make sure that our community-based organizations can provide events that just make Redmond a more vibrant place. And then finally, I'll note that we also wanted to be able to do our part on gun responsibility, and I am super excited to see a gun buyback program being established in here. And thank you to all my colleagues for bringing these ideas, to the staff for figuring out how do we do this. And that only scratches the surface of the number of things in this budget. But I did want to call out, because those were all things that we listed at the beginning of this year, and that tonight we will invest in and tomorrow we will do. So I am looking forward to voting for this budget. And I will also say, before I wrap up, I want to say thank you to Councilmember Fields. While he is not here tonight, he did a wonderful job chairing these budget proceedings, and appreciate his leadership. Thank you, Council.
Councilmember Salahuddin.
Thank you. I think Council President Kritzer did an amazing job at laying out all of the critical investments that we've advocated for throughout the year as council. I do really just want to shout out Director Cochran, Haritha, Haley, and the rest of the finance team for all of your hard work at making this such a smooth and seamless process. I was told that the budget process will be, scary and, time-consuming, and it was the opposite. And so thank you for making it a process that was actually enjoyable, understanding the ins and outs, and really taking the time and care to explain, why we're making these decisions, because these are critical for our future. Council President Kritzer mentioned specifically the public safety, and as chair of the Public Safety and Human Services Committee, I've had an honor of working really closely with our first responders and our police and fire chief, and the areas that we're investing in a growing city, in a city that's diversifying not only in its people, but in our infrastructure. With light rail coming in, I think it's really critical that we're investing so much into our support, specifically our crisis care responders, our fire, and our police programming as well. And I do just want to note, as a soccer player, a lot of the investments in our World Cup and the future that will bring in a few years, I'm really excited about that, and the foresight that we have to make sure that our city is ready for a monumental event. Really looking forward to that and everything else that the budget highlights. So thank you all, and really excited to vote in favor.
Right, thank you. Councilmember Nueva Camino?
Thank you, Mayor. Plus one to what my colleagues have already said, and I also wanted to acknowledge the various department heads that collaborated on this. Yes, of course, our finance department gets a huge kudos, but this truly was everybody on board and working together. And how do we get to a path to yes? How can we acknowledge the priorities throughout all the departments, as well as the priorities of the community? And how can we work together to get to yes? Now, on a more social note, during my day job, I was very recently, at a very large event in a neighboring city, and the neighboring city's staff and council was acknowledged and celebrated for having a balanced budget. And I sat in the audience, and I was so proud to know that they weren't the only one with a balanced budget, and that we actually had a little surplus to where we got to deliberate on where those went. And I was so proud of the way that we worked together to deliberate on how that went. And get to just sit there with a little extra pride in that daytime event, knowing that we too had a beautifully balanced budget.
Thank you. And interesting, because local jurisdictions are required to have a balanced budget. So I hope their budget was balanced. But yeah, thank you. I love that. Councilmember Stewart.
Thank you so much. I know it's getting late. I really appreciate that both members of council leadership spoke to the process that has taken place, not just this year, but really over the last few years, to build in these new systems, to collaborate with the mayor's office and the directors, and to be really focused on the things that matter most to our residents. So I'm glad they spent the time walking the public and you all through that, because I think that it's mattered. So thank you so much. I want to acknowledge our commissions. Many of our commissions met with us over the year and described some of their priorities. We've got the Arts Commission, who's going to be working on a new plan that we're investing in this budget. Parks, obviously, our Southeast Redmond Park that has a new master plan. We're looking forward to that, and many of the others. And most notably, our Human Services Commission. Sorry, I shouldn't say that. Wow. Also, very importantly, our Human Services Commission, which spends the greater part of 9 months with the hardest job in the world, reading grant applications and then determining where to invest our public dollars. They do that through an equity lens that they are trained on and agree upon prior to the start of their process. And as a result, a third of the dollars that they've recommended for investment tonight will actually be invested in housing stability, things like rental assistance, mortgage assistance, and otherwise, to help keep Redmond families stable. So really just proud of all of their work and deeply grateful. I know many of them are probably watching tonight to make sure that their thing gets across the finish line, and we appreciate them. Also very forward-looking. Thank you again to the finance staff. This has been really a resetting year. I was so curious going into this process. This is our first budget in a post-pandemic subsidy era. Now, there's a tiny little sliver of ARPA dollars hanging out in this budget that we will spend down very shortly here. But we have a new baseline here in the city of Redmond, and as council members, I'm looking forward to monitoring our investments over the next year. We are making investments in this budget that are also intended to generate revenue and to help keep our city healthy. Having a healthy city budget-wise is not a given. The meeting that the mayor and I were at yesterday with our District 7 colleagues, not everyone is in that position, and if we want to keep it, it's ours to maintain. So I feel a great sense of responsibility about that. If anything gets in the way of the business license audit director, Cochran, just let us know and we will clear the decks for you. I really appreciate you. So thank you, everyone, and congratulations, and thank you so much for the collaboration.
Anyone else? Council President.
I just wanted to say one last thank you because I realized that I forgot, which is to thank our mayor. Thank you, Mayor Burney, for your collaboration on this budget and for your leadership. It's great to see the council and the mayor and the staff all working together on this budget throughout this year. And I just look forward to continuing the collaboration as we now implement this budget. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm going to also break my rule again. I'm going to speak before we vote because then we're going to break and have cookies. So I would just share, thank you very much. I inherited a budgeting by priorities process, which is a really great way to budget. We have 4 priorities of the city, and in this budget, we are able to definitely meet the goals of our community, and I think our community will see some great service enhancements, and they will notice it out in the community. But in that, inheriting that process, my goal has always been to make this process easier, more collaborative, easier for the staff, easier for the council, easier for the community to understand. And I think that we're getting closer and closer to an even better process. This year, one of my goals was to get this passed prior to Thanksgiving. In years past, it's gone a little past that, and I know I can see some of my finance staff out there nodding. I know that the stress that this process can put on people, and I think that the ability to bring in the council early, even though it's considered the mayor's budget when I deliver it to them, we did things a little differently this year where we ensured that we collaborated beforehand, and so the budget that was delivered needed very little changes to make it happen. So I appreciate the council's work on that, their prioritization, as well as the director's team. Thank you all very much for all of your work and all of the staff sitting out here, as well as our community that engaged with us on this. Not quite the numbers of engagement of the comprehensive plan, because that was phenomenal. I don't think anyone in the state has ever had that much engagement on anything in a city. But definitely appreciate everyone who gave us comments on the budget, shared with us your priorities, and made it known what you really value in our community. So thank you everyone for participating in that. And with that, this will be a roll call vote starting, did we move it already? We moved it, we talked? Yes, okay, just making sure I check all the boxes. We'll start with Council President Kritzer.
Aye.
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 Aye. I dissent.
Yeah. And that passes 5-1. Thank you all very much for passing a fantastic budget. We're going to have a 30-minute recess in order to say hi. I just want to give a little update on the weather. Our staff is out busily clearing trees, ensuring that all of our pump stations are working on generators, making sure everyone's safe out in our community. So if you are out and about, you probably aren't if you're listening to this, but if you are, you might just want to go home and hang out. If you are here, we're going to have a little recess and have some cookies, and then I want to make sure everyone gets home safely. But currently, our Redmond team is taking care of anything that has befallen on our roads. So with that, if there's no objection, we're going to take a 30-minute recess, and we will be back. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Our next item of business is a staff report for the Transportation Master Plan status update. Carol Helen, Director of Planning and Community Development, will introduce this item.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, council members. This staff report will primarily be informational and provide a work plan update on the Transportation Master Plan with a detailed focus on bicycle and curb space strategies. In addition, staff will highlight the ongoing community engagement efforts related to the TMP. And tonight here with me to present this item is Michael Hintz, our Transportation Planning Manager. And I'm going to turn it over to Michael.
Thank you, Director Helen, and thank you, Council and Mayor. Thanks for sticking around this evening. I feel like I'm playing second fiddle tonight, but I'm excited to give you a recap of our TMP and just an update of where we are in the spirit of giving you a quarterly update. So tonight I'm just going to recap our schedule and provide an in-depth look at two key chapters that we've made substantial progress on. That would be the bike chapter, bike strategy, and the curb space strategy. And I also just wanted to note there was some additional material included in the appendix, just additional details if you're interested, and happy to answer any questions on those materials when it's Q&A. So I have about a 15-minute presentation for you. Okay, so that's our agenda. Oh, I want to touch on just some community engagement that we've done over the summer, and then conclude with some upcoming milestones. Just a recap of our schedule, we are in the midst of the analysis and draft strategy development. We expect that to conclude in March, April timeframe and have a draft plan by June, July of 2025, and then expect final plan review in the fall about this time next year with adoption by the end of the year. Wanted to dive into the bicycle strategy. The bike strategy really is based on the outcomes that we want to achieve. And we are focused on achievable outcomes and also, I would say, a bit aspirational too. We really want to push the envelope. So what that is looking like in our urban centers where we have mixed-use development happening, and we're really encouraging that mix of land uses and building out infrastructure, shooting for 15% of all trips in urban centers be made by bicycle or micromobility, and 5% citywide by 2035. And just to put that in context, we're currently, at least for commute trips, around 2% bike trips. Our urban centers and nearby neighborhoods definitely have the highest potential for shifting trips to bicycle. And by doing so, we want to support the goal of reducing single occupancy vehicle trips by 30% by 2035 and a 50% reduction in per capita VMT by 2050. That is from the Environmental Sustainability Action Plan. And with that, with reduced VMT, the bike strategy will support that 71% decrease in greenhouse gas emissions by 2050. And then, of course, key to this strategy is connecting all key destinations with a low-stress bicycle network. So these are the principles in which we've developed the bicycle network. We want it to be connected, connecting all places where people want to go. We want it to be direct. We want to make bicycle travel a competitive travel option from a time point of view. And we want it to be cohesive. That means a system that people can intuitively understand. They can be new to Redmond and understand how to use the network. And then safe and comfortable, I touched on this. We're really focused on building out that all ages and abilities bicycle network that all people will feel comfortable using. And then multimodal, we're really focused on connecting people to transit, whether that's light rail or buses, and creating those hubs where people can connect their bicycle trip to a transit trip to make those longer regional trips. The draft bicycle network, this was also included in your packet materials. This map just shows the bicycle network, and I think a couple things to point out on this. The spine network, this is something that was defined in the 2013 TMP. We're carrying that forward with a few minor modifications to it, but that spine network is really like the bicycle, the main thoroughfares for bicycle travel in Redmond, and these we would shoot to be level of traffic stress 1, so the least stressful, most comfortable facilities. And the spine network really connects to our urban centers, connects the outlying neighborhoods to our urban centers, to our light rail stations, and key destinations. And then the local network are the smaller lines on the map. We're showing both planned and existing network. And these will also be low stress. But they may not achieve as the directness that the spine network will achieve, just given the roadway network that we have in Redmond. But these are going to really connect people to those neighborhood destinations. So this is the network going forward, and of course we can't build all of this at once, so we are applying a prioritization framework to the network implementation using these key factors: equity, safety, proximity of the network to key destinations, the comfort of the facility, route connectivity. So we really want to prioritize routes that are connecting to already low stress routes, so we can build that cohesiveness. We have also included a topography factor, understanding that there are a lot of hills in Redmond, and topography is overcoming topography is a key strategy for getting people that may have trouble getting up hills. So finding routes that avoid hills where possible, which is not always possible here in Redmond. And then the spine network gets kind of a bump in priority because that's really a network we want to build out and really focus on building that out. And then there's a factor called the short trip density area. Our consultant actually conducted an analysis of short trips using replica data, which is a big data source, to really understand where those short trips are happening, and we want to target those trips less than 3 miles. That's a very bikeable trip for most people. That map on this slide shows the results of that short trip analysis. So you can, not a lot of surprises here, a lot of short trips happening to and from our urban centers. Key policies and strategies that I just wanted to point out. The first one is, Redmond has taken a fairly opportunistic approach to building out its bicycle network historically, and it's taken a number of years to build the bike lanes that are out there now. There's still a lot of key network gaps, and that network largely consists of conventional bike lanes, which the majority of the population are just not comfortable using. So rapid implementation is a strategy that will help us build out the network faster, in some cases using lower cost materials. And these may be interim designs until the city has funding to go back and construct more permanent infrastructure. So that's definitely a key strategy we want to focus on. Converting those short trips, as I mentioned, those trips less than 3 miles, we really want to focus on again, as that analysis shows, connecting people to our urban centers. Those first last mile connections, as I mentioned, are also very important, connecting people to light rail and buses, allowing for those more regional trips. And balancing modes. So we are also doing an analysis of our network currently and sort of the level of service of that network from a vehicular point of view. And we really want to, we're going for that layered complete streets network approach. And we're going to, no doubt, identify situations where reallocation of space away from vehicles towards bike facilities will be necessary. So there's, as you know, limited public right-of-way, and it's really a question of right-sizing the transportation network to best meet the city's equity, safety, and climate goals. And then finally, e-bikes and scooters, very important part of the bike strategy given Redmond's topography. Strategies that we are including our e-bike lending library. We want to explore that and what that might look like here in Redmond. E-bike rebates, particularly targeting lower income households. So just making e-bike purchasing more accessible to more people. E-bike charging, that's something we're looking at as part of our e-mobility strategy as well. And then secure bike parking is really critical, providing those places where people feel like they can lock up their pricey e-bike or cargo bike and feel sure that it will be there when they get back. So that those are some of the key policies and strategies of the bicycle network. I'm going to move on to the curb space portion, and then happy to take questions. So the curb space strategy is really about establishing policy for prioritizing curb space, which is a limited public resource. There's a lot of demands on curb space, and so we need to really prioritize who gets access to the curb. On-street parking is included as a component of the curb space chapter. And this will really set the stage, the policies and the strategies that we include in the TMP, or really set the stage for the urban center parking management plans that are just started. We started the data collection on those plans, and development of those plans will happen in 2025. And so again, curb space, supporting city goals around transportation demand management, economic development, and access to our urban centers where the curb space demand is highest. These are some of the goals of the curb space strategy. We really want to effectively manage parking to facilitate access, support safe and comfortable multimodal access. So again, it's really identifying where our bike network interfaces with our street network, particularly in our urban centers, and making sure that people biking and using other modes can have access to our downtown. So in some cases, not in all cases, that it may require a trade-off between parking and that multimodal access. We want to think about just equitably with consideration of community benefits. So again, how are we supporting our businesses, other services, people with disabilities accessing downtown? We want to make sure that there's accessible parking in the right-of-way for those folks as well. And goal 4 is supporting the land use and transportation vision and goals for a sustainable community. And then also really looking at innovative parking management strategies and technologies. There are a lot of technologies that can be used to better manage and more efficiently optimize our parking resources. So some key strategies. There are around 12 strategies total. I'm just featuring maybe 6 of the most impactful ones here on this slide. And strategies include establishing curb space priority by land use type and primary use. There is a matrix of these priorities included in your appendix materials if you're interested in seeing that. We want to explore shared parking program, and this will definitely be a focus even if we're not successful with that shared mobility, the regional mobility grant that we've spoken about, which would include a shared parking component. We'll also really want to focus on just setting community expectations and promoting a positive attitude around parking once and walking to your destination. It's just, especially in our urban centers, with the implied acknowledgement that not every destination in Redmond's urban centers will have parking immediately adjacent and may require a short walk. And then finally, I guess the second last point there, really want to look at opportunities for electric vehicle charging at the curbside, and that is something that we are currently studying where that should be prioritized. And then finally, Public Works will be working on a comprehensive curb space management plan. This is really the next step, looking at a block by block what the curb can and should be used for. So that's it on those strategies. Why does it always do that? There you go. Just wanted to say a couple things about the ongoing community engagement. So we really are, as I've stated before in previous updates, building on the outreach from Redmond 2050 in helping craft and shape the transportation element, which this transportation master plan is really the next step in implementing that the policies in that element. Our outreach over the summer, we were present at several community events, and we were asking more detailed questions to build on and get some feedback on some specific policies and strategies that we're exploring with the TMP. And some of those questions that we've been asking and the input we received is also included in your appendix materials. And then we're using the Redmond Pedestrian and Bicycle Advisory Committee as really a venue in which we're presenting elements of the Transportation Master Plan, really inviting the public to attend those meetings and provide feedback. Our next update will be in December, and we'll be talking about the bicycle strategy at that meeting. And then we'll continue to seek input from the public as we develop a more complete set of strategies. We'll work with the communications department to utilize their resources for reaching underserved and harder to reach communities and groups. And we'll also be looking to partner with some CBOs to reach those same communities and get broader input as well on the strategies as those are in development. Next steps, just continuing to develop the TMP content, working on those other chapters. And then we will be coming back to council with an update to the Safer Streets Action Plan at the end of January, and optional study session to dig into some of the TMP material if you desire on that same date. And then we'll be providing another status update in the kind of March timeframe where we have a staff report and study session scheduled. So, yep, look forward to continuing to develop the TMP and give you updates, and happy to take any questions on these things I presented to you this evening.
Thank you so much. Are there any questions this evening? Councilmember Stewart.
Thank you so much, Michael. There have been a lot of exciting topics today, but this is actually really exciting because we just adopted a comprehensive plan a few minutes ago that balances a lot of our competing priorities and our different pressures in our city. And here we are doing it yet again, because when it comes to bicycle infrastructure or curb space management, we have those same challenges here. I'm really excited with the project here tonight. I really look forward to the January study sessions as well. But I'm really, really happy with the amount of input that the community has already contributed to this. If folks want to send along additional comments or get in touch with you all, it's not as heavy an event season, so how do they get in touch, or what's the best way for folks to do that? Do we have any surveys actively right now, or have those concluded?
Yes, there's a Let's Connect page set up for receiving input on the TMP, and then, like I said, the PBAC meetings are also a venue where people can attend and ask questions.
Great. Well, thank you so much for your work on this. Really excited.
Thank you. Council Vice President Forsyth.
Thank you. No questions at the moment. Just really excited with the work you've presented. Man, did we luck out hiring you. And it's just exciting to see all of these things coming together in the way that they are. I especially appreciate the acknowledgement of topography, as that's always a huge one. I always tend to end up living on top of a very large hill, so I appreciate that one.
Brought up tonight that I'm really looking forward to is the discussions around the e-bike lending library and rebates idea. I've been reading quite a few articles from other jurisdictions that have used the rebates or subsidy kind of model for encouraging those, and it seems like the demand has been extremely high, so look forward to having more discussions on that.
Thank you. Anyone else? Thank you so much, Michael. Appreciate the work and looking forward to future discussions on it in the new year.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have the next item of business is a staff report. Wait, where are we? On the ordinance for PSC Power and Gas franchise agreement. And I'm going to bring Aaron Burt, Director of Public Works, up. We also have a guest from PSC. And while we're talking about power, there are some significant power outages, down power lines, down trees throughout our community. So please be safe. If you notice a power line down, please stay away from it. You can attempt to call PSC, but they most likely are aware of it. Crews are out. Our police, fire, and public works crews are out dealing with many of these things. If you are trying to report them, be patient. It's a pretty significant storm throughout our area, but mostly please stay safe and stay away from any down power lines. And yes, and there is an app. PSC has a great app that you can report, but I think it's pretty jammed up right now too. But I just want everyone to be safe out there. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Director Burt.
Thank you. Yes, actually, right now we have reports of the first look at the PSC franchise agreement, covering the city's agreement with PSC for franchise operations within the right-of-way for gas and electric infrastructure. One interesting thing, it was brought up, I think somebody asked us why the gas wasn't included in the previous franchise agreement. We dug into it a little bit, and it was because PSC in this area purchased Washington Natural Gas. And so when we did the franchise agreement with them previously, that issue wasn't covered. So some of the things that you learn when you dig into the history a little bit there. So with this agreement, we went back, had some discussions with PSC about the language that was contained, some of the initial concerns that were brought up. We also brought in Daniel, who is an expert in dealing with these types of right-of-way franchise agreements. In our discussions with Puget Sound Energy, they are willing for us to take a look at some of that language like that, but we just needed a little bit more direction from council in terms of where you would want us to focus on or make some adjustments. So, Daniel, if you have anything else you want to add to that, or we're happy to take any further questions from council.
I guess I would just quickly note that in the agenda bill, I had provided some information on some of the scope of authorities, both for franchises and for the regulation of these types of entities, to show that delineation of where those powers exist and this kind of scope of what these agreements are meant to do. I'm happy to answer any questions on that, but that information was in the agenda bill.
All right, thank you both so very much. I'm happy to entertain questions from council. We're not planning on taking any action this evening, but want to ensure that we get collect all the questions and get them answered in our next, we anticipate having more conversations about this possibly in the next business meeting, but depending on what the council decides. So questions that you still have on this item that we can share with our staff and team? Questions? Councilmember Stewart.
Thanks. Appreciate the revised memo and the additional touch base on this. I have a couple questions that they came up during my office hours last week following our previous discussion on this, so I'll just go ahead and air them here for the folks who are listening and make sure we're all on the same page. Director Burt, I got a couple questions, of course, about the new environment, given that one of the ballot initiatives had passed, and then there is some uncertainty as to its future. So could you address for the public who are interested in that topic, how the environment, I believe we were having this conversation like the day before the election, so how, if at all, the environment has changed for those who are interested in the answer to that?
It's my understanding that the ballot initiative does not impact what we're looking to do here for the franchise agreement in terms of the protection of the infrastructure within the right-of-way. I believe, though, that aspect of the preference or the incentives relating to the use of natural gas is more of a policy issue for the city and is not within the purview of this franchise agreement for the right-of-way. And I'll defer to council as well on that.
No, I understood. Again, it was a question from the public, so it's good to have clarity on that. One other question. Well, actually, I think that it would be helpful for the public, again, for the folks who came to my office hours and whatnot, to hear. Could you tell us actually the benefits of having this franchise agreement? Our conversation to date has been pretty narrowly focused on the gas piece of it because it was the first question that the council asked. But could you tell us about some of the things you're looking forward to in having this agreement?
Sure. The right-of-way is a finite space, and it is extremely constrained when it comes to the infrastructure that makes the city work. Everything from water to gas lines to underground electricity. What the franchise agreement does is it sets the conditions and the standards between the city and a franchisee, in this case, Puget Sound Energy. And it lays out the provisions in terms of when and how Puget Sound Energy, in this case, can access the right-of-way in order to either make improvements to their existing infrastructure and or make new connections and new building or rehabilitation. It provides a means in which the standards are adhered to by the franchisee, everything from the types of permits they have to obtain to the amount of liability insurance that they have to cover to how they are to restore the right-of-way to a particular standard. So anytime that we have major utility groups like this Puget Sound Energy, or anybody who is actively engaged in our right-of-way, having a franchise agreement sets that condition and expectation of what it means to access it and protect the infrastructure that's in place.
Thank you. And last question, if I may. There was a question about the current, or previous, I should say, agreement expired in 2018. How have things been operating in the absence of having an agreement?
So if a agreement expires, basically it continues to carry forward until a new agreement is entered into. So the provisions of the prior agreement are in play, but we've made improvements to this franchise agreement going forward. Specifically, the process of requiring some additional insurance and liability coverage with Puget Sound Energy. We've clarified dispute resolution, resolution process with them, and then we've also created a provision within there that holds Puget Sound Energy accountable for removal of old infrastructure out of the right-of-way, where previously, for example, if they had a power pole, it got capped, the process to get that removed wasn't clear, but now we have a defined process to do so, to get that type of infrastructure out within 120 days. So we've definitely made some improvements with this agreement.
Thank you so much.
Other questions or comments for this evening, Council President?
Just in terms of what my recollection was of some direction from last time or suggestion to follow up was to add the word remove in the list of actions that might potentially fall under here. So we're not just looking at constructing or adding, but also removing or transitioning, which we do have replace. So I think that kind of covers transition when I looked through it again. But if we wanted to add the word, especially I'm looking just at section 3.1 under grant of rights, there's like a long list of different verbs of privileges, essentially, that are granted. So I guess one question would be when we come back is whether it would be appropriate to add the word remove, so that way it covers, as we look forward to potential energy transitions, that's covered within this agreement.
And we'll definitely reach out and take a look at that for sure.
Any other questions or comments on this at this time? Did you have anything else? Yes, Council President.
I guess just to clarify for the council in terms of next steps, I guess the question would be, I think originally it was proposed to actually have a vote on this on the 4th of December, the 3rd of December. So I guess I'm not the chair of the meeting, but I will ask the chair to get some clarification on next steps from the council, and whether or not we would want to bring that on that agenda, or whether we want to kind of get some information and do that within the new year. I know last time it was expressed that there's not a really big rush on this, but but if the council's ready, when the council is ready to vote, we can put it on the agenda.
Thank you.
So, if I may, so a franchise agreement needs 2 touches or 2 hearings in front of the council. I think we believe that 2 weeks ago when it was introduced that was the first one, the staff report. If the council wants to take action on it on the December 3rd meeting, that would be your purview. If not, we can bring back, after we speak with Puget Sound Energy, some proposed changes if they're good with adding that word, for example, and then we could take action on it in January.
So 2 choices, bring it back December 3rd or bring it back in January. So I'm going to put all the council members on the spot, which they would prefer. So I'll start with Councilmember Nueva Camina, because she's way down there.
December 3rd.
Okay, Councilmember Stewart?
I would like the option that explores adding the word remove in the suggested paragraph from the council member.
Okay, thank you.
I'm good with December 3rd.
Councilmember?
Indifferent.
Council President?
I do December 3rd, if we could also get that language added in time.
Yes, we'll work on it and we'll reach out to council and let you know.
Yeah, we will work on that. We will send out information to council about the progress of that and the opportunity to put it on the agenda on December 3rd.
Sure.
And I would suggest we put it on either new or unfinished business, just so that if there's any other conversation we need to have, we could have it. Is that all right? Thank you very much.
bet.
Thank you. And thank you, gentlemen from PSC, for being here tonight. I know that your teams are extremely busy right now, and everyone will be ensuring that they're using your app and finding out when their power will be back on. So thank you for all you are doing to keep us all safe, too. All right, with that, it's getting late. It is, we did a lot this evening, but we have still a couple more things left this evening. We have ombuds and committee reports. Are there any ombuds pressing items we have for October? Councilmember Nueva Camina, and for November, Councilmember Fields, who is absent this evening. So, and then I'll ask if anyone else has any.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to read very quickly. As some of us remember, October was a very busy month for ombuds. And thank you for being gracious and allowing me from our last business meeting when I was having technical difficulties and did not have access to the report. One of our residents' wires got crossed when using an auto mailer. They meant to send a concern to a different address, but it came to us. Concern about council bios not being transparent. I reached out, got confirmation on that, and what was meant was that they would rather them to be more bolder in larger print, April just jumping off the page. Another was calling for Director Helen to not be reelected. Reached out, let them know how staffing works with the city of Redmond. Several invites to various community events, as October was a very busy month. Diwali area chamber events. I was able to attend Empowering's Diwali Ball held at Microsoft campus, as well as their Global Women Festival. More misinformation being asked to be distributed in cut and paste style emails that have gone out widely. Concerns about funds being siphoned in regards to Plymouth development. Resident who had previously reached out with a concern of having more AEDs at our parks let us know about a ribbon cutting event that was in our neighboring city of Kirkland that past week. So now that is 4 weeks ago. Received statements by the document station at the Redmond County Library alleging some mistreatment by Redmond Fire Department. Lake Washington School Foundation 2023-24 impact report is out at a quick glance at the import on their website. Most notably, that could be an indicator for our community was that we had 1,000 plus students receiving weekend food packs. Now that's not 1,000 individual packs going out, but 1,000 unique students receiving weekend food packs. On one side, I heard from a constituent that it's wonderful that we only have 1,000 plus given our population. My response was that is 1,000 plus too many. Heard from a resident who particularly liked the aesthetics of Bend, Oregon, and I sent them the link to Redmond 2050 where they can learn more about the future of our city, which we just adopted that, and how we intend on neighborhoods having their own character each. Had an email pertaining ethics and credibility, proud that our council and our city abides by ethics and shared values within the city. I was able to attend the Hip Hop Climate Change Conference at UW, hosted by Hip Hop is Green. It was the first event of its kind there at the UW campus at the Hub, and was also there with other regional leaders and emphasizing one of the deepest values within hip hop culture as we charge the next generation of leaders of each one teach one. Attended Party with a Purpose at the Redmond Senior and Community Center to benefit the Sophia Way. Little known fact, you can reach out to them and get a sleeping bag and essentials bag if you would like to have them in your vehicle so that you can hand them out if you regularly see an unhoused community member in your day-to-day. Although Sophia Way is located in Bellevue, they most definitely do support us here in Redmond as we work regionally for our unhoused population. And that is the end of the Ombuds report, and I love that folks are wanting to be civically engaged. Yes, please keep more of it, and please do your due diligence before cutting and pasting information and dispersing it widely.
Thank you. Any other Ombuds items for this evening? Councilmember Stewart?
Thank you so much. Just a couple visitors at my office hours. Most of the questions were regarding the franchise agreement we just previously discussed. Quick reminder, due to the library's construction and the winter holidays and whatnot, my office hours at the library will resume in February 2025, and those are posted on my council bio on the Redmond City Council webpage. I am following up with a resident who has some questions about planned improvements on 132nd Avenue Northeast. Attended a ribbon cutting for a new business with Mayor Bernie, and also Mayor Bernie and I also attended the AWC District 7 meeting yesterday, as was previously mentioned. Just a really great gathering. Nice to be in a room full of people who have their comp plans and budgets on their mind. Lots of great ideas being swapped, and I appreciated that Mayor Bernie invited everyone to our big giant Redmond light rail party this spring. So looking forward to that.
Council Vice President.
Thank you. Just a quick update. Had a couple conversations with community members about our tenant protections and how we'll be looking at that in the coming year, and continue to follow up with a resident about the construction and developers buying up homes in their neighborhood and the construction noise that they're going to be encountering in the coming months.
Thank you. Any other ombuds items? Council President?
I had a couple conversations with folks around issues of environmental sustainability, housing, and safe biking, and talked with a couple folks about their input into our budget. So hopefully they saw some of those pieces in what we approved tonight. And I will also note that I am going to do in December office hours by appointment only. And I am potentially going to move my office hours to a different time and location for next year. And I will share about that at the meeting, as well as we'll post publicly on my social media as updated and put that on my council profile. So thanks everyone who's come to visit me this last year.
Thank you. Any other? All right, we have committee reports. Councilmember Salahuddin.
Thank you. I'll try to keep it as tight as possible. Earlier today, we had Public Safety and Human Services Committee, where we had a few master service and purchasing agreements, as well as interlocal agreements. And we had a Lake Washington School District 24-25 School Community Resource Officer contract agreement as well. There was also a few energy grant audit, commerce grant awards. There was one of those, as well as a Eastside Climate Partnership Solarize Campaign Consultant Services Agreement. We explored the Fire Save V loss for Q3 from our fire department, and heard from Director Carol Helland on Permanent Supportive Housing Quarterly Update. I also had the opportunity to attend the Eastside Transportation Partnership Committee with the Council Vice President Forsyth, where we heard a presentation on a sustainable airport master plan on near-term projects, specifically tying in an environmental review there. And we discussed the 2025 Eastside Transportation Partnership legislative agenda and had an opportunity to explore what transportation looks like specifically on the east side, with all of our jurisdictions leaning into this conversation at the state level.
Thank you. Council President.
I attended the Kokanee, Lake Sammamish Kokanee ILA Management Committee meeting. We had previously approved a budget, but as part of those conversations, we had budgeted for a new item around communications and wanted to have a meeting to be able to check back in on that work, and specifically what we're going to invest in the time ahead. There actually is not a lot of great publicly available information about our efforts, although I will say that we got a little preview also during the meeting of what they're seeing in the returns this year, and it's looking like we're going to see some really good positive progress for our little red fish. So very exciting on that, and hopefully that we will also have some more communications materials. I think myself and our staff who joined in on that call will continue to monitor and kind of push to make sure that that we target our investments to be able to get the most out of it in terms of who needs to know the most, really targeted to lakeside owners who can do the things that'll make the biggest actions, engaging legislators so they understand a little bit more about some of the needs for salmon recovery and specifically the kokanee. So anyway, that work will be interesting. Also, the chair of that ILA, which is made up of all the cities that are around the lake plus the Snoqualmie tribe. The chair has been Victoria Hunt of Issaquah, and she just got elected to the state legislature. So we discussed that we'll probably get a new chair of that group in the upcoming time. And huge thanks to Councilmember Hunt, who's been a great salmon champion and leader, and I'll look forward to seeing her doing that work in the state legislature. I also attended the SEA deputy mayors and council presidents call, and we had some really interesting conversations this month. Just one thing I thought I'd share with the council that I thought was interesting. We had a discussion about budgets, as I think it was mentioned during our comments on the budget. We're pretty lucky in Redmond to be in the position we were in this budget. Many other cities are facing reductions or tougher choices. Every city on the call except for ours was actually imposing a 6% tax on utilities. And most of them for the first time. So our 1% just gives it a little bit of context there. Also, there was some interesting discussion about policies we might do at the local level to be able to address any sorts of things going on nationally and to reflect our own values. And I think that'll be interesting. We kind of flagged it as something to follow up on. Some council members who've been around for a while shared some ideas of things that they've done in the past to be able to support their community on issues like immigration and some other pieces. So I think that'll be really interesting, and happy to bring back any more discussions on that going forward. And then I think I had one other item that I was going to share. I think that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other committee reports for this evening? Councilmember Stewart?
I attended the Sound Cities Association's Public Issues Committee. There were 3 briefings on last Wednesday's meeting. I'm going to forward the presentations along to the council. Our council has had a few questions on septic tank conversions in our city, and just relatedly, on-site sewer systems, formerly known as septic systems, are getting some code updates, and there's a slideshow from the Department of Public Health that folks may be interested, so I'll pass that along. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Oh, Council President?
Just one thing that I wanted to note for the council, I did formally throw my hat in to run for the North Caucus seat, or one of the North Caucus seats on the SEA board. So if you talk to any of our other SEA city folks, and I think it would appreciate your support for that position. I think, we had great SEA representation for years with Mayor Burney and council members before her as well on the SEA board, and I think it's great for Redmond to have a seat at the table there and influence the discussions of how SEA functions, and I hope that I could bring a unique perspective to bring all of our cities together to work well together. So anyway, that the vote on that will be coming up in the upcoming month, and I also registered as the voting member for that meeting, since I think there's only one vote per city. So since I'll be there anyway, Mayor Burney had asked me if I would register for that, but just wanted to let the other council members know.
And yes, thank you for doing that, and I will share more information on that. There's usually a voting delegate from each North City, and so we'll get that information soon. And thank you for attending the SCA event on the 4th of December. I would normally go, but it will be my last board meeting on Hope Link, so I kind of thought I should probably show up for that. But the other council members would love to see you. I know SCA would love to have you there as well, and it's always more fun to carpool than to drive alone to Renton. So if you all can make that happen in your schedules, that'd be great. Show good Redmond representation. Any other committee reports this evening? We do not have any unfinished business. We have no new business. We did a lot of work tonight. This concludes business items for this meeting. If there is no objection, we are adjourned.